Hello students. So we have completed 2 chapters. So we have finished section 1 of the book. Today I want to discuss some question and answers with you all of chapter 1. I will show you all some notes and you all can take them down by pausing the videos if you all want, or you all can have notes of your own choice. Let's begin. Okay, so today we are going to discuss some question and answers, that probable question answers that can come from this chapter. So the first chapter we did was beginning of time. The one question that can come is the sources to understand early human history. So the sources that we can understand early human history is from discovery of fossils and cave painting and stone tools. You will explain what is fossils and how they get embedded in the rock and so they are preserved for millions of years. Stone tools and what were the stone tools, paintings, where were the paintings found and how they help us. And also very, very important, how the scholars rejected all these objects. They did not believe that early humans could make stone tools or even paint, all because of Bible's Old Testament that said human origin was an act of creation by God. So these are some notes that if you all want, you all can copy or you all can make your own notes. Next question that can come is, how was Neanderthal man's skull discovered? So in August 1856, the workmen were quarrying for limestone and they found a skull. They handed over this to Carl Furholt because he was a local schoolmaster and a natural historian. And then he further made a plaster of the cast of the skull and sent it to Hermann Schaffhausen, who was a professor of anatomy at Bonn University. Later, they jointly published a paper claiming that the skull represented a form of human that was already extinct. Again, over here, the scholars have not accepted it, and later they accepted it after after origin of species. Okay, now this is the story of human evolution. Between 36 million years and 24 million years, we had primates, which is a category of mammals that have emerged in Asia and Africa. Primates are also a subgroup of a larger group of mammals. They include the monkeys and apes and humans. They have body hair, and also a relatively long gestation period after birth. They have mammary glands. They have different types of teeth, and they also have the ability to maintain a constant body temperature. These are all the characteristics of a primate. Okay, the next is from between 24 million years and 5.6 million years ago, there was a subgroup among the primates that is called hominoids. Now, hominoids are different from monkeys. They have a larger body and they do not have a tail. And there is no longer period. There is also a longer period of infant development and dependency among the hominoids. Now, from 5.6 million years ago and 1.8 million years ago, between this time, hominids evolved from hominoids. So hominoids became hominids. Although there were certain common features, they had major differences. So these are the differences between hominoids and hominids. Hominoids have smaller brain, and hominids have a larger brain. Hominoids were quadrupeds, that means they walked on four limbs, two hands and two legs, and hominids had bipedal locomotion. Hominoids have flexible forelimbs and marked differences in the hand. And over here, they have flexibility in the hand, leg, and fingers that help them to make tools and weapons. Now, hominids got further subdivided into two branches known as Austro, Australopithecus and Homo, and each in turn have several species. So these two branches are also known as two genuses. So the major difference between an Australopithecus and Homo is with the brain size, jaw, and teeth. The Australopithecus, they have smaller brain size, heavier jaws, and larger teeth than a Homo. The word Australopithecus comes from the Latin word austral, that means southern, and the Greek word pithekos, which means ape. Homo is a Latin word which means man, and although women were also included in it, basically the word Homo means man. Now, scientists, they distinguished amongst lots of types of Homo, and the names assigned to these different species are normally derived from their typical characteristic. So the fossils that are classified as Homo habilis, these are basically the homos that were tool makers. Homo erectus is the upright man, and Homo sapiens is the wise or the thinking man. We also saw the positive feedback mechanism. So some of the features or developments in the anatomy of early human beings favored or shaped them to become the modern human being. So these developments together are called positive feedback mechanism. There was bipedalism or upright walking, and this helped to use less energy for hunting, for carrying infants, and making and using weapons. Then there was flexibility in hands and fingers that enabled the hands to be freed for carrying the infants or objects. And because the hands were free, the hands were used more and running became easy. Then there was a growth in the brain size that helped in thinking, memorizing, planning, and realizing to make new attempts for further development. And visual surveillance that is improved in early humans. It favored for long distance walking, searching food, find animals, and many more work. Then there are two theories of human origin, replacement theory and the regional continuity model. So this the place of origin of modern humans has been heavily debated. There are two completely different points of views. So while one says regional continuity model, that is, there is multiple regions of origin, another says the replacement model with one single origin in Africa. And what are the debate arguments? The regional continuity model, that is multiple origins. It says that the Homo sapiens originated in different regions and then gradually evolved at different rates into modern humans. This theory is based on regional differences in the feature of present day humans. That means present day humans have different features like color of skin, height, color of hair, color of eyes. So according to the scholars who advocate this view of regional continuity model, they say that these dissimilarities amongst humans, current present day humans, is because of the differences is because of the differences that pre-existed in Homo erectus and Homo sapiens populations that occupied the same region. So they are saying probably uh, the Homo erectus and Homo sapiens also had these dissimilarities that it's being carried forward from there. And if you look at the replacement model uh, theory, that is, human beings first originated in a single region in Africa and migrated to all other regions. All the scholars who advocate this view, they say that the evidence of the genetic and anatomical homogeneity of modern humans, that is, 2 hands, 2 legs, 5 fingers, 2 eyes, 1 mouth. This is the similarity between all of us. We are all homogeneous. We are all homogeneity. So the enormous similarity between modern humans is because of their descent from a population that originated in a single region, which is Africa. So because we've all descended from one place, we all have this similarity, okay, in our anatomy. Now then we discussed how did the early humans, how did they obtain food? Because we know food is very important to survive. So early humans obtained food through gathering, hunting, scavenging, and fishing. Then you all also saw what each of these was and how we have found the evidence of this. It is not just some person sitting and thinking it. It is we have found evidence for each one of this. So those evidences are very important, which prove that early humans gathered food through this. Now, we also saw how the early humans how did they live, what was their shelter, what was their pattern of residence. So one way that we can reconstruct the evidence of residence is by plotting the distribution of artifacts on a map, and then whichever place uh, these artifacts were found in abundance, food resources were abundant. Humans must have visited those places repeatedly, and so those places have more artifacts. So in these places, the humans have left behind traces of their activities and their presence. The places that were less frequently visited would have fewer artifacts. It is also important to remember that the first shelter was tree, and tree would have been shared by a hominid and also with other primates and carnivores. Now, between 400,000 and 125,000 years, natural caves started to be used by the humans. And we have this evidence from the sites in Europe. So there's a cave in southern France, the Lazaret Cave, and we have found a shelter that has been built against a cave wall. And inside this shelter, we have also found evidence of stone tools and food sources. There is another site in Terra Amata that is on the coast of southern France. And we have also found some flimsy shelters with roofs of wood and grass. And we are assuming that these were built for short-term visits, probably some seasonal visits. We have also found houses that were made of stone and baked clay. And we have found some burnt bone along with stone tools. and these date back to 1.4 and 1 million years ago. These have been found at Chesowanja, Kenya, and Swartkrans, South Africa. We also have found indications of controlled use of fire. Now, fire has several advantages. It can provide warmth inside the shelter, light inside the cave. It can be used for cooking. It can also be used to harden the wood or the tip of a spear. And use of it is also associated with flaking of the tools. Then we saw the kind of tools that they made. So the use of tools is not confined only to humans. Some chimpanzees also use the tools. Certain anatomical and neurological adaptations have led to skilled use of hands and fingers, which favor tool making by early humans. The ways in which humans use and make tools often require greater memory, complex organizational skills, and both of this were present in the early humans. And we have evidence of this. We have evidence of making and use of tools from sites in Ethiopia and Kenya. It is likely that the earliest stone tool makers were Homo habilis. Now, we are not sure if the tool making was done by men or women or both. But it is possible that the stone tool makers were both men and women. Women particularly may have had to make tools to obtain food, uh, especially for their children after weaning. How will she provide food to the children? So she may have made tools then. And also 35,000 years ago, improvement in the techniques of killing animals are evident, and we can see new kind of tools like spear throwing, swords, and bow and arrow. There were also other needs of hunting besides eating. So they wanted to track the fur-bearing animals so that they can use the fur for clothing. And that's why we have also seen the invention of sewing needles. The earliest evidence of sewn clothes comes from about 21,000 years ago. So we also saw punch blade technique to make small chisel-like tools. And now they started engraving on the bone, antler, ivory, or wood. Then we saw about the mode of communication, the language. Now, there are many views on language development. So these are all the questions that can come. Explain the mode of communication, language. There are several views on language development. The first user of language was hominid. And hominid language involved gestures or hand movements. Later, they developed another way of communication known as vocal, but non-verbal communication. It was local. It used to speak, but they used to not speak. They used to sing or hum. Homo habilis have possessed a small number of speech sounds in the initial stage, and gradually they developed into a language. There is a suggestion that brain of Homo habilis, they had certain features which would have made it possible for them to speak. And so the language has developed as early as 2 million years ago. The evolution of vocal tract was equally important. This occurred around 200,000 years ago, and it is more specifically associated with modern humans. There's also another view that language developed at the same time as art, that is 40,000 35,000 years ago, and the development of spoken language is closely connected with art because both are mediums of communication. We also have seen the cave paintings, so we know they had another mode of communication, that is art. Hundreds of paintings of animals are done between 30,000 and 12,000 years ago, and they have been discovered in the caves of France and Spain. These include the depiction of bison, horses, ibex, deers, mammoths, rhinos, lions, bears, panthers, hyenas, and owls. A lot of explanations have been offered. One is that because of the importance of hunting, the paintings of animals were associated with rituals and magic. Now, active painting could have been a ritual to also ensure a successful hunt, such as a big animal was hunted by an individual. Another explanation is that possibly these caves were meeting places for small group of people, or they were location for group activities. And these groups shared their hunting techniques and knowledge through paintings and engravings. And these paintings and engravings also served as the medium for passing information from one generation to another. All the accounts that we have studied about the early society is all based on archaeological evidence, and still there is so much we still do not know. Now, there are hunter-gatherer societies even in present day. So, as of our knowledge of present day hunter-gatherer society has increased through studies by anthropologists. Anthropology is a discipline that studies human culture and evolutionary aspect of human biology of the past. Whether the information about living hunter and gatherers can be used to understand the past hunter-gatherer society, there is a debate. So one group of scholars suggests that the data can be used to understand the past society. Another group of people, that is ethnography, which is a study of contemporary ethnic groups. It includes an examination of their modes of living, technology, gender roles, rituals, political institutions, and social customs. So, one side where there are anthropologists who say, yes, if we study the present day hunter gatherer society, we will be able to understand the past better. On the other side, we have the ethnographers who feel that ethnographic data cannot be used for understanding the past society because the two are totally different. According to them, present-day hunter-gatherer societies pursue several other economic activities along with hunting and gathering. They also engage in exchange and trade in minor forest produce. They also work as paid laborers in the fields of neighboring farmers. And also these societies are totally marginalized, very, very less. So geographically, politically, and socially, they are very marginalized, and hence this data cannot be help us to understand the hunting and gathering society of the past. Then we saw the development between 10,000 and 4,500 BCE. So for several years, humans lived by hunting wild animals, gathering wild plants, but somewhere between 10,000 and 4,500 years ago, people learned how to domesticate certain plants and animals. And this led to the development of farming and pastoralism as a way of life. This shift from hunting to farming was a turning point in human history. Why? Another question here. Why? Now, with the introduction of agriculture, more people started to stay in one place and for a longer period of time. Now, because they were staying so long, permanent houses started to be built of mud bricks, and even stone. And these permanent houses are some of the earliest villages known to the archaeology. Farming and petroleum also led to introduction of many other changes, such as making of pots, in which we store grains and other produce to cook food. New kinds of stone tools have come into use, and other stone tools, such as wooden plow, were used in agriculture. Slowly, people became familiar with metals like copper and tin, and wheel, the most important invention, which was important for both pot making and transportation, came into use about 5,000 years ago, and even larger concentration of people started to live together in cities. This was the notes of the first chapter and the kind of questions that can come from the first chapter. With this, I end today's class. Your homework will be to write these notes down if you want to, or you can even write it in your own way. I also have a suggestion. You can make something like this, which is a mind map. You can pause the video, screenshot it, and copy it down. It's a very good explanation of the entire chapter on a single page, which will help you in revision. So with this, I end today's class. Stay home, stay safe, take care, and keep learning.